This is a very transformational experience, opportunity for you at the Grand Connection Edu networking community. We have an opportunity for you to learn about one of the most important aspects of being a business leader. It's called emotional intelligence. And our expert speaker on August 17th from 11 a.m. Pacific time until 1 p.m. Pacific time is Carolyn Stern. I am Carolyn number 1, and that is Carolyn number 2. And, Carolyn has written this extraordinary book that I think every business person needs to read. And it's an opportunity to really learn about yourself, your own leadership. And what I've noticed in our community with businesses from, 35 countries from around the world at the Grand Connection is one of the most important aspects that people don't understand is the authentic value that they represent in their business. So they struggle with being able to show up authentically in the breakout rooms and create those grand connections with other strategic businesses around the world, as well as their potential clients. So this book supports you to understand who you are as a leader within your business. In Carolyn's book, she talks about why this book has become her purpose, her passion, and her calling. She grew up with a mother who was, extremely helicopter parent. So she basically made a lot of the decisions for Carolyn. Well, I grew up with a mother the opposite. And what I became in my life, so one of my emotions is being a super woman, which is being incredibly independent. And I never asked for support, that I can do it all on my own. And that has jeopardized a lot of the success in the last 40 years as a business leader, as a speaker, as a coach, because I get exhausted and then I have to catch up. So my emotional intelligence has basically increased knowing this information. So I think this book is all about mindset, to lead yourself to better success. And I'm going to pass it over to Susan here. Susan, tell us about Carolyn Stern's book. And I just love it. And I know you do too. So go ahead.
Well, I love yoga. And there's a quote in yoga: yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self, from the Bhagavad Gita. And, I just feel like this is like the handbook to help you learn about yourself easily and quickly. And like Carolyn Stern, she's spoken at the Grand Connection before. So members, you may remember her. And there's also some recordings in the hub and a podcast interview. And a lot of you guys took her course as well. So you know that this is her passion, her love, what she's been doing for her. This is her life work. And she has put her soul into this book. It has so much in it. It's, the emotionally strong leader, but an inside out journey to transformational leadership. It is a tool book that I think everybody here at the Grand Connection and everyone listening needs. It's a book. You can get it on Amazon right now. And I suggest getting it before her talk, which she's coming up. And we're so excited because it goes through, you learn about what emotional intelligence is. But what I love the most is it has a discovery process where you get clarity. And then there's a workbook in the book. I mean, I got everything tabbed in here. You've got your ready after you've gone through learning about it and stories and learning about what other people have been through and the case studies. You've got a ready, set, action. And then you get into, possibilities to enhance your emotional intelligence. Before that's the workbook. And this is detailed. Like, you really can learn a lot about yourself, and you're measuring. So, you do that assessment, you learn where you're at, and then you figure out where do you need to go. And it's just so well put together that I just say, everybody, this is a must have. I'm so excited. And I thank you, Carolyn. Carolyn signed it really nice too. It's very beautiful inside. And I just want you to just have the opportunity to learn about yourself, because when you know and understand who you are from the inside and of your story and where you come from, you can show up in the world and make a bigger impact, and you can lead. And we just want everybody at the Grand Connection, that's what we're here to do, is to support you in having those grand connections that you can lead and make an impact in the world. So I'm just super excited. I can't wait to have this talk. And Carolyn, I'm looking forward to hearing about what you're going to talk about.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Susan. And we need help here, people. This is something that's not taught in school. You go really into this in the book too. It's something that's mandatory for all of us. So it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of understanding your EQ, your emotional intelligence. We all want to serve from our highest self. And at the Grand Connection, we're here to help you do that through these amazing speakers like Carolyn Stern. So let me introduce you to her. Carolyn Stern is the president and CEO of EI Experience, an executive leadership development and emotional intelligence training firm. She's a certified emotional intelligence and leadership development expert, professional speaker, award-winning author, and university professor. Her book has been awarded a bronze medal from the Axiom Book Awards for the best business book in 2023 in the leadership category, and bronze medal from the 2022 Forward Indies Book of the Year Awards in the career category. So Carolyn, we are so honored that you're going to speak to our community and share with us what your talk is going to be all about on August 17th at 11 a.m. Pacific till 1.
Well, first of all, ladies, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. And I'm so excited to be here again. About almost a year later, the book has come out since then. And like you said, Carolyn, and it's won a couple of awards, which is lovely to, I think I was sharing prior, in school, I was always taught I wasn't a great writer. And now to win 2 awards of the best business book of the year in leadership or career in the career category is really an honor. What I want to talk to your members about is, I know as someone who's been a solopreneur, it's lonely and we don't get a playbook. And unfortunately, like you said, we don't learn any of these skills in school. How do you deal with emotions? But here's the key. How you feel affects how you perform. And then the problem is we never pay attention, mostly, to how we're feeling throughout the day. We'll take time to take a break and have a stretch, or we'll take time to have lunch. But how often do you pay attention to how you're feeling? And right now above my desk, I have an emotions poster, which we will share on the day of August 17th. But I look at that poster at least 3 times a day to check in. How am I feeling? And what is that feeling telling me about me, the situation, and others? And I think once people stop being so afraid of feelings, ladies, right? Feelings are not facts. Not always. They're not always factual. They are fleeting. They're transient. They're like clouds. They come and go, they're not good or bad, right or wrong, but they have an incredible amount of information if we start to pay attention to the meaning behind them. They can teach us a lot about ourselves. And so what I want to do in this session is teach your members that emotions matter. Let's stop being so afraid of them and stop worrying about how we're, I don't want to talk about how people are feeling, or why is it that we can put our cameras on when we smile and laugh, but we turn our cameras off when we're crying. Sadness there's gifts to sadness, just like there's gifts to guilt. and there's gifts to happiness and excitement. Negative emotions provide us with a lot of information if we start to pay attention to what it means. And so in this talk, I really want to teach people, how do you gain the emotional skills and mental strategies to be bigger than our feelings? Because let's stop being so afraid of feelings. Feelings are, emotions are not the enemy. We got to make friends with our feelings. And like Susan said, half the book is a workbook. So I purposely set it up that after each chapter from chapter 7 on to chapter 13, it's a workbook. So you read the chapter and then you do the exercises in the book to figure out where you are. And I take people through a 6-step self-coaching process, which is, how do you enhance your emotional intelligence? And the thing is, you've got to figure out where you land. So in my case, Carolyn, you had talked earlier that I had a helicopter parent. And because I had a helicopter parent, I lack independence now as a 52-year-old. I worry too much about what people think. I need a lot of direction in my life. I'm not as self-directed. I need a lot of validation. In fact, my employees tell me I pay them to reassure me, which is 100% true. Whereas you, Carolyn, you grew up with a parent that was a little bit disconnected from you, kind of let you do things on your own. Probably you were one of those turnkey kids that got the keys to the house and had to fend for themselves. So now at your age, you're also someone who probably doesn't ask for help. Well, here's the problem. When you've got someone like me on the spectrum that is really low and needy, and you've got someone on the EI spectrum that is really too independent and never asks for help, what we got to do is find what our sweet spot is. Where do we meet in the middle? Meet in the middle. Where do I start asking or trusting myself and trusting my own judgments and not needing validation? And where do you start asking for help even when you don't need it? And that's the key. But here's what I do want to say before I open it up to you ladies, is being high in an area like you are very independent. That's not always a good thing. And I talk about that in the book. There's a dark side, but there's also a bright side to being low. So you said earlier, I'm needy, so I ask for a lot of help. I delegate a lot. So my team does a lot of how this ties in. Like, I can collaborate more. I can get my team to work on projects more. I get a lot of stuff done in a day because I'm not afraid to ask for help. When someone like Carolyn doesn't ask for help, then she's kind of that siloed into doing things on her own and not getting as much done in a day. So there is a middle ground. Do I want to be more like Carolyn Absolutely. Because I want to be more independent, more self-directed, trusting my own judgments, making decisions stronger and being more confident in those decisions, not being so reticent to make decisions. However, maybe she's too much on that side and needs to ask a little bit more help when she can.
Yeah, and this is so profound because there's that spectrum that you're talking about where you're here and I'm here. So what I've learned in the last 15 years is really to test out. It's like you talk about this in the book, like there is a transformational journey from the inside out. I mean, that's what I love about this book because it's the truth, people. Truth is powerful. So what I've done is let go to lead. I let go of a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And also what I've discovered about myself is I love receiving that support now. Oh, I am so grateful. I am so appreciative. Susan knows this, being a partner of mine at the Grand Connection, because it's an experience that is freeing for me. And I'm super grateful. So, it's each of us has this intimate, personal journey of understanding our emotional intelligence. And based on lots of factors like you talk about in the book, yet it's making that commitment to yourself to find your own sweet spot, like you said. So there's there's parts of this book that I just adore, and I'm just looking down here. You say that EQ is the answer. I agree. You said it changed your life completely once you realize that you can assess yourself and look at your strengths and weaknesses and learn. It's like Susan said when she spoke, learn what I need to improve on, that I need to strengthen to improve that. And also, who you are is how you lead. True, very short statement, but it's deep and wide and vast. And what I'm so excited about you coming to teach this, because you're a true teacher, you're a professor, you speak to young people about this. Like I said, I sent it to my kids, which I'm really excited that they're going to learn this, because if I would have learned this in my 20s, oh my goodness, life would have been a little bit different for me.
Well, I think once we figure out what our emotional makeup is, right, which chapter 7 is all about figuring out what you're strong in, figuring out what you're weak in, figuring out where you're on the dark side when you're too much of something. Once you figure out where your emotional makeup is, for good or for bad, it will then teach you how it's getting in your way of your leadership effectiveness. Where is it helping you and where is it hurting you? So in my case, my low independence gets in my way. But that coupled with my high flexibility, I am so overly flexible. That's not a good combination, because I will over accommodate all my employees of what they want. Plus, I care too much about what they think. So as a leader, sometimes I need to be a little bit less flexible and be a bit more stringent and be a little bit more independent and take a stand. And if people are unhappy with that stand, too bad. It's best for the business. That's what I need to do as a leader. But until I figured out what I was strong in and what I was weak in, then until I did that, I didn't know what to work on. And the problem is, listen, we're all doing this on our own. There's no playbook that we've been given. But what I wanted to do is build a book that you could literally work a tool book, like Susan said, a toolkit that you could work yourself through these exercises to figure out more about you. And I think you said, Carolyn, offline to me, I wrote a different book. This was not the book I started writing. I wrote a book on how to lead others. And then I realized what my mother always told me, which is you point a finger, 3 fingers point back at you. So I realized that before I can lead anyone else, I've got to look at myself. And how am I showing up affecting the results I'm getting?
Absolutely. And the one piece in the book that I'd love to visit, I think Susan held that up in the book, is this iceberg model. I love that iceberg model. For us at the Grand Connection, we teach people how to network. We teach people how to make these grand connections. And for them to have that information is going to change the trajectory of people wanting to partner, create those strategic alliances with them.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So can you just, I know we could talk to you for about 3 weeks here, but I love this stuff. Can you just highlight what that iceberg model represents?
So, what killed the Titanic was not the piece of ice above the waterline, right? What killed that Titanic was that giant piece of ice below the waterline. Well, people are a lot like a Titanic. What you see, not a Titanic, an iceberg. People are a lot like an iceberg. What you see is what's immediately apparent. So what you see right now is my communication. You see my actions. But what you don't see are all the elements that affected my communication and affected my actions, i.e., my beliefs, my assumptions, my motivators, my stressors, my fears, my concerns, my biases, my assumptions. All of these things are below the surface. So when I make a decision, you don't know why I made that decision. You don't know where, when I sent a snotty email, you don't know why I sent the snotty email. Do you remember in math class, Susan, do you remember your teacher asked you to show your work? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Right? And the thing is, what did they do? They wanted us to show how we came to the solution. Well, here's the thing. Why don't we do that in business? We don't
I
ever
didn't like doing it in math class either, because I would do it all in my head very fast, and that showing your work seemed very unrelevant to the getting the answer.
Susan, here's the
University
positive.
was better as more multiple choice.
There you go. But here's the positive of that. If I know why you're saying and doing what you're saying and doing, then I understand you better. So in the book, I encourage people to have inner iceberg conversations. So at the Grand Connection, my suggestion is when you start to meet people that you want to collaborate with or start to meet your clients, start asking them questions like, what motivates you? What fills your bucket? What keeps you up at night? What are you afraid of? What assumptions are you making about this project? You know, what are your deepest and darkest fears? Like, you don't have to start right at the most scary conversation, but I would certainly have these conversations about what are your beliefs on this topic? And then shut up and listen, because that will teach you a lot about that person and what makes them tick. And my employees, 3 questions I ask all my employees is, what do you need to feel connected to me and the team? What do you need to feel appreciated for your efforts? And what do you need to feel fulfilled in your role? And then I shut up and listen. And Pam, who you had met earlier, my marketing manager, she likes to be connected. She likes to feel connected to me by talking to me every day. Natalie, she could talk to me once a week. That'd be fine for her. Pam, the way she wants to feel appreciated for her efforts is words of affirmation. Natalie, she wants quality time with me. Pam, when she wants, how does she feel fulfilled in her role? When she's learning new things about marketing. Natalie, she wants work-life balance. And that, if I shut up and find out what they need from me as a leader, that gives me the roadmap of how to lead them. But unless I'm asking those inner iceberg conversations, I'm just assuming how I want to feel connected, how I want to feel appreciated, and how I want to feel fulfilled is the right answer on how to lead them. And guess what? You are not the standard to which everything is judged. Just because I like to be connected with someone and talking to them every day doesn't mean every employee wants the same thing. Just like because I like public affirmation and accolades in front, doesn't mean that all employees want to be appreciated in front of peers. Just because I like to constantly be learning things and having time to learn new skills doesn't mean everyone gets fulfillment in that way. So if we start to realize that all of us at the Grand Connection are made up of our lived experience, and your lived experience makes you who you are, for good or for bad. And we have to figure out who we are today so that we can lead people better tomorrow. Because I said it in chapter 6, it's the title of my one of my chapters, but it starts with you, but it stays with them. It starts with you, but it stays with them. You absolutely need to remember that how you show up in a day has a ripple effect on how other people around you are impacted by your actions and communications.
Agreed, 1,000%. And to us, Susan and I, our intention of the Grand Connection and how we show up is to create a community that connects, creates opportunities together, and collaborates in the premise of grand giving, which is to serve each other and to support each other with concepts, ideas, resources, contacts, strategic partnerships. So, that's why I love this book so much. And I just want to reiterate those 3 areas, because you can think about these 3 specific words when you go into the breakout room at Carolyn's presentation and all the other Grand Connection breakout rooms. Connection, appreciation, and fulfillment. Those are 3 areas that are absolutely brilliant. And I think, well, my personal opinion is people want to be appreciated for who they are more than anything.
And when people feel connected to, appreciated for, and fulfilled in their role, it improves how they feel and perform at work. And when people feel better, they perform better. And we need to stop being so afraid of feelings. They come and go. They're full of information. So let's start paying attention to what information each emotion can give us. And if we can start really having those inner iceberg conversations with our teams, with our colleagues, with our peers, with our bosses, then we can have deeper connection. Because when people feel connected to, appreciated, and fulfilled in the role, it's going to improve engagement. They're not going to be quietly quitting. They're going to realize that you actually care about them. They're not just task completers. They're humans. They have feelings. And guess what? It's the one universal language we all can relate to and understand. And if we started talking the emotional language that we can all relate to and understand, imagine how inclusive our workplaces would become.
Well, and the partnerships. I mean, we have businesses from 35 countries. There's been partnerships from Australia to Florida, people coming together, but doing exactly that, and created other businesses and other platforms and other success. So this is brilliant. And the last thing that I want to bring up is my favorite phrase that you use. You have so many quotes in this book that are just brilliant, that we'll be sharing on social media, people. But here's the last piece. The jig is up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We have to turn leadership on its head. We have to turn that iceberg upside down. So much of what we focus on is IQ, what you immediately see in me, my intelligence, my cognitive intelligence, which is just my problem-solving ability. But below the surface is our EQ. And that is what we need to switch around. We need to turn leadership on its head, that we're speaking about those inner iceberg conversations more so than just facts and figures. And that is the key. Soft skills, there's nothing soft about it. This is the one thing I hate about that term, soft skills. There's nothing mushy about it. There's so much science. And I'm so glad you mentioned how much research went into this book, right? This was 20 years of research. There is so much science behind what we can do to be bigger and stronger than our emotions. And I purposely named the book Emotionally Strong, because when you think of emotional, you think of weak. You think of, you can't show emotions in the workplace. That causes shame. But there's nothing further from the truth. You can be emotional and strong. They are not mutually exclusive.
Yay. Yay. I'm just doing
Carolyn,
happy.
there's so much. I'm so excited. And we have our member mingle coming up. It's the topic. This is so perfect. The topic of the next member mingle at the start of August is how to do those perfect one-on-ones. So let's get some emotionally intelligent questions in that conversation happening. We're going to practice that in 2 weeks, right? Next week.
It's next week, Wednesday. So I just want to wrap up here. So Carolyn, what you're bringing is your calling for sure in the world. And you have an amazing team around you. You do corporate training, lots of it. You do lots of speaking, lots of media. So how can people find you, connect with you? And you're so incredibly available, which I think is incredibly inspiring for us too. So how can people connect with you?
So if they go on to carolynstern.com, which is one of my websites, where I focus on my keynote speaking, but EI experiences our corporate training. So if there's anyone that's interested in doing any corporate training, assessments, retreats, group coaching, private coaching, we do a lot of emotional intelligence coaching. And what I love about this is, think about, once I figured out what I was strong in and what I was not so strong in, then I could do something about it. But until I looked in the mirror, and let's be honest, ladies, that's a hard mirror to look into, to kind of go, what am I not doing well? And what am I doing well, and what I should leverage? And here's the thing, how I grew from a legitimate into a legitimate small business from being a solopreneur is I hired people who had what I didn't.
Yes.
I didn't have independence. So I hired, and who you met earlier today, Pam, my marketing manager, she is the most independent Gen Z millennial I know, because I struggle with that. So you do not need to be perfect at everything. You just need to first be brave enough to have these emotional conversations. So when your employees or when you are not feeling okay, to just talk about it. I'm feeling angry. And where does that anger come from? Because there's an injustice or an unfairness that I'm feeling, or I'm feeling frustrated. And why am I feeling frustrated? Because there's an unmet expectation that I'm feeling. So if you come to understand what your emotions provide you, you can do something about it. And so, yeah, so carolynstern.com, they can find me there, or eiexperience.com, they can find us there as well for corporate training. And I would love to connect, or follow me on all our social media channels, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Awesome. And there's fabulous YouTube recordings on there. And you also have been interviewed on a lot of really powerful podcasts that share a lot of this truth of this book that will inspire you to take action, and also to understand who you are, what you stand for as a leader. And I see this in corporate world. I see this in families. I see this with young people. I see every person on the planet really honestly understanding who they are and how they can be better leaders as a mother, as all the roles that we play. So I just thank you for your courage to create this book. All the massive work. I can't even imagine. I mean, it's 20 years that went into this book, people. So it's The Emotionally Strong Leader. We want all of you to come as a guest to the Grand Connection. That's grandconnection.ca. And to join us to hear Carolyn's keynote presentation. And you'll have an opportunity to ask her direct questions at our event.
Yeah.
So,
and remember, ladies, being emotional is unprofessional, but having emotions is not. And so you can't, I'm not advocating that you stomp and scream and swear at work. That is being emotional, but you can still be angry and tell people in a calm way that you are angry and here's why you're angry, and be bigger than that anger. And that is what the book teaches you.
That is massive. I mean, even just for myself, when I figured this out, I don't know, 15, 18, 20 years ago, my world changed.
Yeah.
What? I can manage my emotions?
Yeah.
What? They used to, hijack me.
Yeah.
So I just think this is so powerful. And so I just really appreciate you coming on here today. I know we've gone for 32 minutes. Yeah, people, just get to our event. If you have something on at that time, on August 17th, just move that appointment, move it to the next day, the next week, or meet them before then, because you want to be here live to receive this information, and also go into the breakout room, the mastermind breakout room, and have conversations with other entrepreneurs from around the world. This will be extremely meaningful for you, and you will even experience transformation at the event. I really see that and hold that space too. So all the information's down below. And thank you so much, Carolyn Stern and your team, for being so fabulous to work with. And we'll see you on August 17th for the Emotionally Strong Leader. Thank you.
Thank you so much.